What's going on, everyone? It's time to review another classic Universal monster film, and today we're going to be doing the sequel to Dracula, Dracula's Daughter, released by Universal May 11th, 1936. It's written by Garrett Ford, produced by E.M. Asner, and directed by Lambert Hillier, who's also done films like The Invisible Ray, The Deafening Rests, Beyond the Picos, and Wason Tracks. But yeah, he's done quite a few other like films in the 20s and 30s. But yeah, so Dracula's Daughter. This is an interesting way to go for a sequel, I thought. So you meet Zara, I think her name is, who's Dracula's daughter, and she has some of the same vampire qualities as her dad Dracula, and she seeks out a psychiatrist to help her get over her vampire ways and help rid herself of the vampire curse that's on her family. And yeah, it's an interesting little mystery to this one because you don't know if it's actually in her head or if she's actually a vampire. And but for the most part, this film does follow almost beat per beat of how Dracula was set up. You basically see the same thing, but with a woman as a vampire instead. And yeah, she's not as menacing as Bela Lugosi, but they still do a couple good creepy moments. There's some good cinematic shots of when like she's in the town causing mischief and stuff, and it's just the way they shot it in the black and white and how it makes it quite like a spookier sort of feel to it, and definitely is more there's more thought somewhat put into this from what goes on in the brain and in the psyche, but it gets a little cheesy near the end. It comes pretty stereotypical on how to kill a vampire film. So, but for the most part, it's still an entertaining film. It's an okay sequel, but it's definitely not the best. They could have done a little bit more. It would have been cool seeing her with Bela Lugosi, or yeah, and it's neat how she tries to find a psychiatrist to figure out if it's like if it's an actual thing or if it's all in her head. And yeah, which is actually this basically sets some tropes up for later on films down the road on things that the cliche where it's just in their head and stuff like that. But for the most part, this one was definitely an interesting, different take on how a vampire would act and do it. I still thought it was amusing, but it's definitely not as good as Dracula. And I actually found the pacing a little bit odd. Like it was going pretty good, but then it slows down to a crawl, and you get a lot of exposition at one point, and then it picks up a bit, and then it slows down. So it's kind of like one of those like weird mood type films. But if you're into like actual vampire films and stuff like that, this one's still a good one. It's definitely they do focus more on like a love angle too in it, but overall it's still a decent vampire film. It's just not as good as obviously Dracula, but for a follow-up, it's not too bad. It also came 5 years after, so they had like other things mixed into it, which was a little odd, but yeah, for the most part, it's okay. I wasn't a huge fan of it, but it's still a decent old vampire horror film. So I'm going to give Dracula's Daughter a 3.5 out of 5, I guess. Well, because the pacing was odd, and I didn't think they fleshed out the characters too well in this one, but they definitely had a different, unique take on how to progress the vampire lore and the Dracula bloodline, to name a few. But yeah, so that's what I think of Dracula's Daughter. It's a good sequel, but it's like an okay movie for what it is. Definitely not the best sequel out there, but it's still a decent little vampire film. There's a trailer link down below, like always. If you want to check that out if you haven't seen it, or if you just want to relive it. It's linked down below. Also linked down below is my Instagram, where I always post clips of films and review in the future on my story. There's the film title, hashtag, and subgenre film, and hashtag so you're aware of it. Yeah, also down below is my Letterboxd and Derek P reviews. That's where I post my first star rating right after watching the films. So yeah, follow me on one of those two to stay in the loop with this channel. Like this video, share some more people aware of it. Comment your opinions of the film down below. Let me know your thoughts, and let me know what your favorite Universal monster film is. While you're there, I'd love to hear what ones are yours and your thoughts on these films. But also, if you have any other films that you think I should check out and you want to hear my opinions on, comment those down below too. I'll watch anything or in any genre, so I'll try my best to get them as soon as I can if I can find them. And yeah, so that's it for this one. Make sure you subscribe, because hopefully we'll find something weird, obscure, and odd, or so you could hear my opinions on popular films like these. And yeah, so make sure you subscribe and make sure you ring that bell, because we're going into the next sequel to Dracula, which actually is Son of Dracula, so in the next one. But yeah, hopefully you don't run into Dracula's daughter anytime soon, and I guess I'll see you all in the next review, so which will most likely be Son of Dracula. So till then, cheers.